Thank you, and welcome to the BG Cinema. Today we have Yvette Craddock, who is a multimedia award-winning entrepreneur in the creative sectors of media, marketing, and design. Through her entrepreneurial outlets, she continues to design her life and inspire others. Her latest body of work to serve that attention is Journey TV. She is the host, co-executive producer, writer, and narrator of Journey TV. Josh Goding is the executive director of the public access television channel 18 in Iowa City, also known as PATV. He has applied his talents as a filmmaker and editor to his latest production, Journey TV. He is the co-executive producer, videographer, and editor of Journey TV. Chad Simmons is the executive director of Diversity Focus. He graduated from Morehouse College with a Bachelor of Art degree in business and holds a Master of Business Administration degree from the University of Iowa. He is an associate producer of Journey TV. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to hand the mic off to Josh.
Thanks very much. I'm Josh Goding, the executive director of PATV. It was great seeing the screening tonight. I've probably watched it about 100 times now as one of the main editors on the program. This was one of 4 episodes that we did. We've been working on them pretty much all year. We got started the first part of this year. I think we finally got started in March, and we were shooting 4 episodes at the same time and editing them all at once, and just kind of wrapping them up as we speak. Still, we're getting ready to play on KCRG coming up in November and December, and also on PATV 18, as you saw. As the director of public access television, I've been working in community media for about 13 years, and get to work with a lot of great community organizations. We are a nonprofit here in Iowa City. PATV has been around and been Channel 18 for about 22 years. Actually, they started out as other channels, but we've been Channel 18 since 2004, I think. We are the public access channel for Iowa City and Coralville. We're kind of like the library in that we have equipment that we can check out to the public after you take our technical classes. We teach members from the public how to edit, how to shoot video, and hopefully how to make programs like this. Get to work with a lot of great local nonprofits throughout the years, done a lot of great projects, but I have never worked on anything of this scope and magnitude and length. So I was really glad when Yvette and Chad brought this idea to us early this year. I had already known Yvette through PATV, and she's the producer of a program called Frame, which is Iowa's premier arts and culture program, and it's really a flagship show for PATV. I'm thrilled that it's on Channel 18, and Yvette's a great collaborator. We love working with her. We had already been doing some HD productions that were new for PATV in 2012. We started a foray into high definition and tapeless acquisition, and we were cutting our teeth on those technologies with Yvette working on Frame Season 2 this year. So we had a little bit of practice doing HD, but the cameras honestly were brand new tech for PATV. We've had them for about 18 months actually, so a little bit in 2011 and 2012. We knew how to shoot and edit, I hope, but working with HD was something really new to us, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, about the technical side, and try to keep it brief and then pass it over to my colleagues here. But they had the idea, Chad and Yvette brought us the idea for Journey TV, as I said, early in the year, and the idea behind it was a pilot series for a group called Diversity Focus, which Chad is the executive director, and we wanted to do stories about diversity in Iowa and the corridor. And they had these 4 people picked out basically to be the main characters of these short documentaries. And we wanted to, Chad wanted to have the programs on television, on PATV, but also on KCRG, on regular TV, I guess, and we are looking for other avenues too, but the idea is that we wanted it to look like TV, to look like high definition television, because it was going on to be playing in HD on KCRG and will be. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see it in HD tonight. We had the file, but I think the laptop was not cooperating. So we watched in standard def tonight, and it still looks great. Although every time I see it, I notice some new little flaw that I just want to adjust, and sooner or later you have to stop working and call it done. But I did notice I left Chad's name out of the credits in this particular version, and that will be changed. So. Anyway, we're very thrilled to accept this idea of working together with Chad and Diversity Focus and Yvette to produce these 4 episodes of Journey TV. We talked about how we could make them compelling. How could we bring these stories to people in just 30 minutes and have them be engaging to the people watching them? And we decided that it was through the creation of character and getting to know characters that would make these programs, these stories, compelling to people watching them. In 30 minutes, that's quite a challenge. But we decided that we wanted to adhere to the 3-act structure that is tried and true in drama and other types of media. The 3-act structure of rising action and increasing intensification and complexification of drama and struggles as the story moves through 3 acts. And so in a 30-minute program, we're looking at 3 10-minute acts. Anyway, we did shoot all the programs. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we got started in March, and then we were aiming for a time to be finished shooting in May. And we had a lot of extra stuff come up and a lot of sort of planning as we went, or having to replan because of various technicalities with the shoot. And we ended up shooting until about the end of July, and making all our deadlines at the same time anyway. So, at least I hope so. So out in the field, we had the 3 definition cameras. We had a team from PATV and Yvette. The Journey TV team would range from 3 to 6 people. On some of the bigger shoots, we had 3 or more interns out with us, helping us shoot the B-roll. We knew that we wanted the stories to take a certain form. We'd been, of course, watching a lot of short documentary and TV, and to best emulate that and to be in keeping with the structures of documentary that everybody's used to, we knew that we had to have interviews that would sort of be like the backbone of these programs, and that the body of the story would be built upon the spine of the interview. And so for each of these, we would go on location. Jen's story was mostly shot around her residence in Newhall, and the general setup on each shoot is we would go and shoot interviews based on questionnaires and sort of pre-interviews that these guys had set up already. We shot with 2 or 3 cameras at the same time, so that we could save time and also have nice, standard 2 shots. The Yvette's camera, and then the interviewee's camera, or the reaction shot. And so, and we had to, because we were so pressed for time, we were editing as we went. So we would, after every shoot, we would go back to PATV, capture all the media, and we would stripe time code onto it, and then hand it back to Yvette for her to begin work on the writing of these episodes. We shot approximately a 20-to-1 ratio. So, if we had a half-hour episode, we were looking at, taking 10 hours of footage and weaning that down to 30 minutes. And it takes a very, very long time. It takes an inordinate amount of time to edit this stuff, but it's one of my favorite things to do, and I think when it comes together, it's truly amazing. But when you're looking at the timeline after the fact, and just kind of looking at all the layers of video and all the edit decisions, I was trying to estimate there's probably 20 or more decisions per minute on the timeline when you're seeing all these fades and sound coming in and out and titles, and it's really easy to get lost and to mess up and to not do quality control properly. But when you get the correct ratio of interview to B-roll and music, something just kind of snaps, and it feels like television, And it's one of those things where you know it when you see it, but you don't know exactly how to describe it, perhaps. So, as I said, we shot 4 of these at the same time, and we're interviewing them all at once. We had some great interns that were extremely helpful to us. One intern would basically edit all the interviews together, and then, as I said, stripe the time code, and then give it to poor Yvette, who had to watch hours and hours of video and try to pull stories out of this raw footage. Yvette would then give the script back to me, and we would start doing the cutting and getting this into closer to the shape that you see now. And then we did several rewrites and several adjustments on the programs throughout the series. I probably spent 200 hours editing these programs. I lost count after that, and I had to keep going because it's a matter of pride to get these in the shape that we wanted to, and to get them all done. I think this is the first one that we made and completed. It was sort of the pilot of the pilot series, and we get to show it to Chad, and we were very excited when he first saw it and said that he thought it was good and we should just keep doing more of the same. And so we hammered out the next 3 over the months from May through July, I guess. And sort of another stress of editing tapeless. It's great out in the field because you don't have to worry about piles and piles of tapes and unlabeled media at the end of the day, but you're shooting onto memory cards, glorified memory cards, and you have to be very careful about getting all the media captured at the end of the day, making sure everything is where you can find it, giving everything names that make sense to you, that you'll remember when you go back to take a look at them and do the editing. And also that there's the additional panic of not having a tape backup. So if you have any technical problems and your precious media were to somehow become erased, you would be out of luck if you didn't have a backup. And so we had 2 mirrored drives. One we were doing the primary editing on, and then every time we do anything to that drive, I would be compulsively backing up a mirror to drive B because I just didn't want to be around when the primary drive failed and we didn't have a backup. So, however, everything went according to plan, and the worst didn't happen. We didn't lose all our media, and I think everything's looking great. Anyway, it's been a great experience working on these Journey TV programs. Hope you'll be able to catch them in high definition on KCRG 9 coming up. In case you missed the schedule, it is November 25th, December 2nd, December 9th, and December 23rd, and those are 11:30 a.m. on KCRG 9.1, I believe, if you have the Qualm tuner. And then, as I mentioned, they'll also be on PATV 18 in November and December. They'll be playing on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. and Saturdays at noon. So, thanks so much, everyone. I look forward to your questions.
First of all, just lovely work, and thank you for your generosity, Jen and Rita family. I mean, it was just so generous and funny and fantastic. I just loved it. And so I'm curious how you found Jen and Rita.
I think I'm going to pass over to Chad for that. Thank you.
Well, the goal, if you're looking at innovation, is that you're trying to figure out intersections, and you're trying to figure out, when people kind of come together. Diversity Focus was at a point in our stage that, as I tell people, we were created by organizations. One would be the University of Iowa, Rockwell Collins, Alliant Energy, ACT, and others, Transamerica, and a number of others. Guarantee Bank would be one, but we were created because corporations were having challenges. They weren't having challenges with bringing people to the area, but people would come to the area for a job, but they would leave because they couldn't build a life. And after we were created in 2005, and after 7 years of work, the board had this feeling about, and I try to express it, imagine if you ate a large pepperoni pizza, or for those vegetarians, if you ate a large pizza with spinach, very light on the cheese, tomato, but you still, after finishing that pizza, you were still hungry. And that's kind of how the board felt. They enjoyed the work that was being done, but they still had this sense of being hungry. And we came up with a concept of, we have been for 7 years focusing on an awareness campaign, and people wanted to move to action. And so my job was to say, listen, we can move to action, but when you move to action, it becomes risky. And how open are you to the possibility of taking some more risk and really having some dialogue and conversation? So while we're having this conversation happening, then I'm also having another conversation with a group of leaders, and Jen happened to be one of them, about community engagement and how to get people involved, and she was giving us very good insight and helping us understand, you know, a lot of the different things that are going on, as well as other members of the community. And I started to think to myself just the concept of, you know, this is great around storytelling, that people do not have the opportunity to experience what I'm experiencing in the room. They don't really have the opportunity to have those conversations because they don't feel comfortable. They may not have access to individuals. They don't know, you know, what's going on. And what if we could somehow put it in a story, in a format, where people could see that we are different and we are the same, right? It's not an either or, you know, it is we're both. And they get a chance to see someone's life and start better understanding that their experiences are not that much different than ours, though our journey and the way that we get to where we're going may be unique in its own way. And so then the goal was, is that how do you in essence put that together? So, you know, I was just excited when I was just hearing Jen talk about the experiences around school and Robbie and what was going on. And for me, it just felt like the experience that a parent would have with a child, regardless, dealing with, you know, how do you, you know, you work with the administration, how do you work with, you know, kids, you know, how do we focus on this issue around bullying? And so then now, how do you bring it to light? And that was the concept, is it's about, as you see, our journey is lit up, and it's about our journey, but it's about journey in general. And then I needed to find individuals that would be crazy enough to try to do something of this nature. And so I figured that if I could find some individuals that would help, and Jen was one of them. And then I came and I went to Yvette and said, hey, you know, you can have this nice show over here, you know, frame. This is, you know, really nice. Let's, you know, what do you think about if we do something, you know? And then we started to figure out, well, who would, you know, work with us? And some of you remember the old Life commercial about Mikey. Well, that was Josh, yeah, he'll do it. He'll do it, let's go talk to him. And that's how it kind of started. It just is the concept of how do we tell people stories in a way that, again, they can relate, they can get more information, they can understand the differences and the similarities.
Yeah, it was really brilliant though, because a lot of political points were touched on through the humanity of, for example, Jen, when you talked about wanting your family to have access to insurance. I mean, this is one of the basic reasons you want to get married. And, you know, I just thought it was wonderful. And I come from Los Angeles. I don't know what the corridor is. What is the corridor? What is the corridor?
So there are a couple of things. So
Is it a metaphor or is it a place?
it is a, yes. We used to be called the Technology Corridor, and it was in essence the area between Iowa City and Cedar Rapids and all in between. And a group got together, and really it didn't take, okay, the technology. So we, in essence, it's going to be, it's like Silicon Valley. It's like the Research Triangle, right? So it's from a region perspective of what makes a region unique and how do you draw things from
It is kind of a metaphor in this case too. I love the
It is.
You know? But I want to see all of them. I loved it. I really did.
So that's what our hope is that people will get a chance to see something that they haven't seen before, but really get a chance to kind of explore where they are individually in their own journey and how open are they to moving forward. But I knew the vision of what I wanted. I had no idea how to get there. And that's to me where the intersection of me and Yvette working together, so I'm gonna pass it over to her, which was, if I can find someone who is smart enough, who is sharp enough, and who in essence is a little bit willing to take this risk crazy enough to work with me, then I know that I can make it happen. And so that's where Yvette came in, so I'll pass it to Yvette.
Thank you. It was a great privilege, and still is too, been a part of this series of shows, and to shape each episode with my team so that everybody's voice can be heard. And I am eternally grateful to Jen, Reading, her entire family, because you really set the tone for the entire series. As you said, you're so generous and so loving and so authentic, and sharing your story, the triumphs, the struggles, everything along the way, that you really brought to life something that I had envisioned for Journey TV. How I started putting my arms around this really enormous project was Chad arranged a breakfast meeting with everyone involved in the production. And from there, I reached out to everyone one-on-one, had phone conversation, email conversations. And then I began to draft a questionnaire so we could learn more about each person, who they are as a human being. You know, do you like to play tennis? I like to play tennis. Do you like to run? You know, so you get drilling down to some really fundamental human characteristics that we all might share. And then I put a lot of myself into the show because I have a unique background of being raised here in Iowa, but living in Los Angeles, living in Phoenix, starting my firm in Phoenix, living on the East Coast, doing business with people around the world. So a very unique perspective on real life outside of the corridor where, right, wrong, or otherwise, most people, they're born and raised here and they stay, and it's pretty much a fishbowl perspective of life and viewpoints of how it should be and how other people should behave, and how, you know, what in Eastern Iowa looks like, feels like, and what they do, and every step along the life path, and how it's structured, and how you should be and where you should be at certain points. So I wanted to be able to tap inside people's heads of, I understand who you are, I'm a third generation native Iowan and grew up here in Eastern Iowa, but I also want you to be able to comprehend life outside of there and understand how people are here and how they are around the world, and what real life means from many different perspectives. And that's when it got really sweet, is when, like, Jen and Rita were able to just open their hearts so much, and everyone involved in the project, thankfully, had the same approach by giving their all and trusting me as an interviewee and interviewer and co-executive producer and the team to put it on the table and put it on the line. And through the honesty of everyone involved, I think it really shone through. I could really put together some solid stories that are true and human, and I believe will make a difference. Even if people just start thinking about it, for me, my goal is to get them to think, get outside of themselves, and just start trying to see life from a different perspective. I learned so much, for instance, along the way in every show. I learned so much about the gay community, and I've been a judge in drag shows, and I have tons of friends, but I learned so much, and I found that I, through each story, expounded and expanded my own viewpoints and perspectives on each topic. You know, we have a young Islamic woman and immigrant, a war refugee from Chad and his family, and then millennials, young people and what they want, people who are native Iowans, and some people who grew up in, one young lady grew up in India. At any rate, that's how I approach putting the stories together, giving them, allowing people to voice their stories, honoring that, and then putting it together in a way that you can comprehend it in 30 minutes and then really grab your heart and start tapping into your mind as well.
The one thing I didn't finish up is we call it the creative corridor. And the concept of the creative corridor is that everyone has the ability to be a creative and to do a variety of different things and to express themselves in a variety of different ways. And the thought was that when you really take a look at our area and you take a look at whether, again, we talk about manufacturing, when you take a look at being a part of here, the University of Iowa, and the Big Ten institution and the research institution, you take a look at the colleges, teaching colleges that we have. When you take a look at our unemployment, and our worst unemployment is still better than the country's best unemployment now. And so the diversity in which we had is critically important to our survival as it relates to moving forward. And the more that we can leverage that, the more we can create an environment where everyone can live healthy, happy, and prosperous lives, then the more that we're likely to, in essence, to create the type of a place that people want to come to. And so that is kind of what the biggest thinking was, again, around the creative corridor. And our goal is that then let's talk about the journeys that people are taking, and let's make sure that people are thriving and not struggling.
And speaking to that, when I said I put myself into these stories, is that, I grew up, obviously I'm a woman, obviously I'm a minority, and there are a lot of ways that I felt like an outsider growing up here, so I could really relate to each person's viewpoint of being an outsider. And what I did through the narration, so that I, as the host and the subjects, were on the hot seat, is I challenged people's mindsets through the narration and how I tied the stories together. And then emphasize that with the B-roll footage we chose and the music we chose at some points to really punctuate those points. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I thought the episode was fantastic, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of them. But I'm wondering how you get the word out about them, because honestly, I've never watched. Maybe shouldn't have been this, but I've never watched Channel 18 in my life. And I'm thinking if I wouldn't have come here for this, I don't know that I would have ever known about them. And I think a lot of people would enjoy them, and I just wonder how you get the word out about them.
Thank you. Chad's in charge.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, one of the things was we wanted people to watch. So, the initial target was that we wanted it to be on an affiliate, major affiliate channel. So that's why it's going to be airing on the ABC affiliate, KCRG. And we are planning on doing a variety of different things as relates to commercials, as relates to using social media, as relates to radio. We are going to do a variety of different things in essence to get the word out because it's really important. And this is, again, the goal here is that it doesn't stop here, that we want to talk about a variety of different people's lives and experiences. And so we want to be able to continue to have it grow. So we're doing that. And what I will tell you is that the big lesson we learned, and if you haven't, you should go to our website, www.diversityfocus.org. We had a website that is a fairly basic website, but as we realized that we wanted a website to really focus on engaging, or our goal was we want to engage with the community, we want to again bring things to action. We even realized that our website is not appropriate in order to help us achieve the goals that we're planning on putting in place. So we're focusing on the total redesign of our website. And it's not a website in the concept of is going to be a marketing tool. It really is a website in the point of we're going to do exceptional storytelling, whether it's in 30 minutes or 5 minutes, whether it's with photography or whether it's with a video, or whether it's going to be oral history. We want to talk and engage with people and having these different stories so that we can kind of move forward to the next step. So we've had to go through the point of saying, if we really want to be a organization of action and to make things happen, and this is really important because, and think about it from, again, our sponsors. They realize, right, that some of us have lived in LA, right? So we got that in common, the kind of the LA experience. And I've lived in Denver and Atlanta. But they realize that if they can't keep talent here, and they're competing for talent all over the world, then they can't keep their companies here. And some companies have no choices, right? If you've ever heard the CEO of Source Media or the Gazette company, they say that we live and die off of the community. But that's not true for Rockwell Collins, right? That's not really true for ACT. But if they can't find the talent, then they can't be competitive. And if they can't be competitive, then it ultimately is going to hurt their business proposition. So we just ultimately realize that if we can do this, and we do this well, and we can engage the community, that people not only can have a great experience working in an organization, but they can, more importantly, have a great experience working outside of the organization. In essence, building themselves a quality life. So our goal is to do a very good job of marketing and letting people know about it. And we really want to engage so that we can get the perspective of, is this something that resonates with you? Does it somehow hit you? Is this type of storytelling the type that we should continue? And then if we should continue it, then we want to figure out how to make it happen.
And thank you so much for your question. I'm the marketing agency. But one suggestion I have is to connect with each entity's websites, and by doing so, you can connect to their social media pages. I know I tweeted about the event and the trailers there, my Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn profiles, patv.tv, connect with them, diversityofus.org, and let's get into the spirit of reciprocity. Share it with your friends. Put it on your page. Let your friends know. Let your workplace know. Your volunteer associates, whomever, everyone in your community. That's how this will grow. I believe everyone in this corridor and beyond, but especially people who live and make the community, need to see each one of these episodes. That's my goal. And I will hustle and go wherever Chad tells me to get the word out. And I'm so serious about that because this is such purposeful work. I've been in TV pretty much my entire career. This to me is what TV is about. And we don't have enough of this quality of content, this uplifting, purposeful content running through the airwaves and running through our consciousness as a society, in my opinion. So I expect people to, talk about this and a lot and fast. And call me, I will help you. Any other questions? Yes.
I was wondering if you could talk a bit about the process of which stories you selected first. You did tell those 4 stories, if there was a little bit of background on how you chose to tell those stories first.
Want me to take that or do you want to take it? So Chad, as he said earlier, in Diversity Focus, they identified the 4 topics and then entities who would support the storytelling as subjects. And then my job in putting this all together was to get to know each person involved. And through this process, it was really about setting a traditional production schedule, such as, okay, we're gonna start here and we wanna start filming on this date, and these are our blocks of time. And being able to, of course, understand and accommodate everyone's schedule in the process, which, is like putting together this big jigsaw puzzle. So through that, it began who started, when, where, and how, and it really came down to who's available to tape on the days that the team is available to get started on this. And so it wasn't some linear production process at all on any of one of these episodes. It was, okay, today we have Jen, okay, we really wanted to start on Rima's story, but she's not available because of this, that, and the other thing until this date. And so it really became a very fluid process and looked a lot like this and this. We had rain out dates several times with Jen's story, and everybody was a trooper about like, oh, we can't change Mother Nature, so we'll come up with an alternative taping date so we can get done what we need to get done, and everyone was very cooperative that way. So does that answer your question? That's how it went down.
And for us, we explored somewhere around 50 to 60 stories. And some of them we said, this is going to be interesting if we put it on video. Now remember, we didn't know if we could even do it, right? And so our biggest find to me was Josh and Yvette were the biggest, because we needed someone that was willing to, again, go and take the risk. You know, we figured out the money, but if they could, you know, be willing to try to do something of this nature. But we took some of those stories and we've turned them into articles that will be a part of our magazine, right? And we also realized in some of the stories that, you know, there were some things that we really wanted, you know, that we could have gotten really from, you know, we use photography, and we thought that we could do some oral stuff, you know, oral history type of things. But we look broader, and then we just try to figure out, okay, is this something that you can work with? But we had around 50 different, at least 50. And we're going back again, and we're going to explore probably another 50 to 60 stories that we're interested in, and then putting together and then figuring out, you know, what is the best way of presenting that data.
Call me, maybe. Any other questions about the process or end goals? Yes?
Yeah, this program was wonderfully done. I'm wondering if, you know, this is about to be screened on PATV and KCRG. Do you anticipate people will be saying, oh, I want my story to be shared? And are you open to taking on stories from the community who are reaching out to you?
I'm always open, but, you know, he has sponsorship backing for it.
Yeah, and that's one of the kind of the engaging type of things that we want to put in place, where so we can start saying, okay, tell us your story, give us some piece of your story, and then let's have that conversation. And again, you'd be just very surprised, and I always look for the intersections. I had a young lady that came to me today. No, she came to me a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, I would really like to get engaged. She came to our student leadership conference. I really would like to be engaged in working with you all. Well, she's going to be surprised when I come to her and I tell her about this other project that I'm working on that I wanted to be a part of. And so, you know, the goal is to have this type of, we call it our butterfly strategy, that it's not just about us, it's about us working with others and collaborating and going back and forth until we can find something that, again, we both can support and agree on. And be very open to the possibility of having long conversations that lead to absolutely nowhere but personal growth. Or having very short conversations that lead to very big things. Or long conversations that lead to big things. So we don't want to cancel anything out. If we are the creative corridor, if it really is who we are, not just how we brand ourselves, then this should be a great opportunity for us. If we're so good, for example, with the Writers' Workshop, then this is an opportunity. If we are good at coming up with different concepts, we don't have some of the barriers that certain places would have. This is an opportunity for us. So, you know, for Diversity Focus, we need to achieve our mission that people not only can come here to work, but they can build a life. But in doing that, we want to do it in such a way that we can share the stories and why that is possible, and then create a sense of a momentum so that others continue to say this is the best place to live in the country or in the world.
I have worked for pretty much every major network broadcaster, and I continue to be impressed by PATV, and again, privileged to partner with them on many productions, not only from Josh's leadership standpoint, but the technology they have available to this community. I think it's something that we really do need to continue to work on. And from my perspective of living in so many different places and doing business in so many different ways and connecting with people and sharing success, I really encourage residents of the corridor to learn how to tell their stories and to share them. I think that's what's missing. There's somewhat of an element of an inferiority complex, and I think that stems from being maybe a little too humble sometimes. There's some really great people here doing dynamic things, but one thing the corridor needs to work on is the ability to tell our stories about ourselves and about each other. And I think that will help shape further enriching the community, building people up in a positive way, and helping people really connect to each other in a human way to understand just how rich our community is. And I don't mean that financially, I mean that on a soul level. So hopefully Chad will keep calling and we can keep putting out work like this and get even better.
Any more questions?
Just add that these cameras that are here tonight are the very cameras that we produced these 4 episodes on. So these are the cameras that we teach at PATV and that we can check out to the public. There's literally nothing between you all or people you know, filmmakers you know, making stories just like this that look just like this with these kind of production values. And if I can get past my obsession with doing fiction, then you all can. So keep looking for those stories, those oral histories that really are the compelling heart of drama, and maybe y'all can make some. Check us out at PATV as well, please.